Hi, everybody. Welcome to the daily review video. I've got a huge headache, so this is probably hopefully not going to be very long. It is January 28th, 2021. It's weird to say out loud, but we're going to be working on continuing on with color. So this is a daily review video basically for Art 1 purposes. So let's dive right in, shall we? I have started to post the daily review videos to the stream section, so you can find this video there. I will be shortly posting the assignment for tomorrow, but we're going to briefly just go over basically what we did in class today, which was the color unit review. So we've already done the majority of this review video already, so let's go ahead and skip down to where we left off, which is basically neutral colors. So neutral colors are colors in which include black, white, gray, and sometimes brown or beige. Remember, A-I-O-U, sometimes Y, kind of the same concept. These are colors in which you're going to take and mix in with your original colors that you find on the color wheel to create either a lighter, darker version or a more subdued version of this. You can usually do that depending on what kind of intensity that you want, hue, all that lovely information, which we're going to move on to. But I really want you guys to focus the use of these neutral colors and how they're used in with original colors that you find on the color wheel to manipulate and change them depending on the look or effect that you want to go for. So, tinting. Now, this looks like a value gradation scale, which is kind of the same concept, but what you're really kind of focusing on is the fact that your main color or original color that you see on your color wheel is going to be smack dab in the middle. Now, whether or not you want it to be lighter or darker, depending on what you want to do, tinting is how you would go about doing so. So in color theory, tint is a mixture of the color with the color white that reduces the darkness of the shade of mixing in was black. We'll get to that in a minute. But you're really focusing primarily on tinting it to a lighter shade. So the shade or the original color is basically blue. If we want it to be a baby blue or pastel blue, we would slowly mix in white with our original color to get that light color of blue. Now we want to really, really make sure that we understand the concept that little goes a long way for both tinting and shading. You want to add little bits of white to your original color, slowly adding it in, mixing it up to get that desired color, because if you add a whole bunch of white on there, it's going to go too quickly. I do find black overwhelms your color much more than white does, so always practice caution when you're mixing colors together. That leads us to shade. Now, here's the original color here. Put myself right above it. The original color is right below. Anything to this side of the wheel is going to be shaded darker with the color black. Now, black is very overwhelming, and when mixing in, you want to be very sure that you're making sure you're mixing it in very slowly, because if you don't, it's going to overwhelm your color and you're going to get a midnight black very quickly and you'll lose your midtones. So, the color theory, tinting is a lighter color of white, but mixing it in with a darker color is shading it to a darker color. So, that leads us to tone. So if you don't really want to lose the brightness or the darkness of the color, you just want to mute the intensity of it. If it's an electric blue and it's just too much for you, then you want to mix in a little bit of gray with it to get that mid-tone color. So this diagram over here but to the right is actually a really good example of what we're talking about. So white, gray, and black. When you mint that in with basically your original color, blue, red, yellow, whatever it is from the color wheel, you're going to get either a light, a dark, or you're going to get a more subdued, muted color of when you're toning it with gray. So that leads to these lovely bad boys. These are probably the most confusing part of color theory, in my personal opinion, is to discover what is hue. What does hue mean? I don't understand what hue is. It took me a really long time to memorize it and to figure out what it is. Sorry. I had a migraine earlier and this light is very bright. So hue is basically the original color that you would find on the color wheel. So yellow, yellow, orange, 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 red, 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 blue. Sorry. Yeah, red, red, violet. I'm sorry. I'm getting a little stuff. red, red, violet, 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 blue, 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 green, 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 yellow. These are all the colors that you would find on the color wheel. They are the original colors that you would find would be the hue. So for example, take red. We have this awesome saturation of red. If we wanted to keep this red as saturated as possible, we're not going to be adding any white, gray, black, any neutral colors. We want to keep that pure saturation, which is the original hue you would find on the color. Say, for example, I take red and I mix in a bunch of white and I create pink. What is the hue of pink? The hue of pink is red because it's the original color that you see on the color wheel. So you really want to focus basically your red color. The most intense version of it is going to be what you originally find on the color wheel, which is also going to be the hue of that color. So if you get like a dark blood red, like a really, really dark red with a lot of black in it, the original hue of that color is still red. It doesn't change. Same thing with blue, same thing with green. If you get like a lime green or a mint green or a really light green, the original hue of that color is still technically green. So looking at value, value pretty much doesn't really change. It's the same concept as we did in the beginning. You're going to have your lowlights are going to be your black areas. Your highlights are going to be your white. Everything in between is technically a mid-tone. So intensity of color. When we're talking about an intense color, we're not talking about a baby pastel color that you would see over here on the left. We're not going to see a really dark version of it with a lot of black. It's your middle color, which is your original color, which is what you see on your color wheel. It has no other colors mixed in to change it to a lighter or darkened or subdued version of it. Intensity refers to the purity of its hue, color, on the color wheel. Intensity, also known as chroma, which means color, or saturation, the highest intensity of purity of the hue is the hue that appears on the spectrum or the color wheel itself. A hue introduces in or reduces in intensity is called a tone, basically when you add gray to it, so on and so forth. So all these kind of concepts, hue, saturation, and intensity, are all along the same lines. They're all brothers and sisters. They're all referring basically back to the original color of what you find on the color wheel. So that leads us to pigment. How is color made? So we used an analogy earlier stated yesterday about the inherent color of the object. So the color that you see is not inherent to the object itself. So this lovely stapler, which I talked about yesterday, is made of plastic. This lovely bobblehead from Bob Ross is yellow. It's also plastic. So what we want to focus on is the fact that even though they're both plastic, these two colors are not inherent, meaning attached to, baby, shh, attached to the fact that it's plastic. So it's the pigment, which you see on the right, that basically changes the color. So they take whatever plastic, they use whatever pigment, mix it in to get the color of whatever object you're going for. Same thing with paint. If it's oil, if it's acrylic, if it's crayons, if it's oil pastels, whatever media you choice you use, it really focuses basically on whatever pigment choice you put into it. Mostly pigments are found basically in not man-made, but they are chemically made nowadays. But back in the day, originally, like back in ancient Egyptian times, with the makeup, they were made from clay, dirt, a lot of things found in nature, um, plants, flowers, things of color, berries for the lips to add color to the cheeks. They're found in nature. Lucy? Shh. Sorry, she's singing. Um, but pigment is basically a noun. The definition of pigment is a substance used to color paint, ink, or other substances. Red powder introduced with a liquid to introduce paint, so on and so forth. So if it's acrylic, it's a different type of liquid. If it's oil, it's an oil-based liquid. You throw a little powder in there, whatever color you want. That then mixed together creates whatever you're going for, which is the media choice. So that leads to the exit question that we asked in class. I do want you to really kind of think about it. How does the color in this picture make you feel? There was a variation, very vast difference between the colors that people saw in this and how it made it feel. Some people felt gross. Some people felt happy, excited, calm, serene. It really depends on you. So that being said, this is where I'm going to stop today's review video. If you have any questions, please feel free to come see me during office hours um, from 2 to 3. I will not be in class tomorrow, but if you have any questions, email me. I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. Other than that, have a lovely weekend, guys. I will see you later. The assignment video for tomorrow will also be the review video as well. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out and I'll talk to you guys later. Okay. Bye.